Don't worry. It's all perfectly safe. Ha! Only joking. I've taken the saw off. It's perfectly safe. Safe for me, safe for you, but more importantly, safe for trees. Because we're cutting far too much of our trees off. I'm a tree consultant, not a surgeon. Let's start my slides. I used to say I don't own a chainsaw. I can't say that anymore. So I bought that one. Bought that one for this talk, for the effect. But I don't use a chainsaw. Begrudge buying that really, but at least while it's sat there safely, it's not out there murdering innocent trees. So I have saved some trees. I'm Tom Thompson. I'm a tree consultant, activist, an upcoming author, and an international speaker on the Treeconomy, promoting the value and benefits of our tree resource for our health, our wealth, and our well-being. I've been in the industry for over 20 years. I've had my business over 8 years, and I've planted over 1 million trees. Not myself, I'd still be doing that now. But overseeing the planting of over 1 million trees, but still not enough. And I manage trees. But I don't want to own one of those, but I don't use one of those. So how can I manage trees without a chainsaw? What do I use? I use these. My eyes. Not quite as demented as those eyes on that slide there, hopefully, but just normal eyes, but looking to see what we need to do. I use binoculars to get a closer view. I don't climb trees, I'm ground-based. I use binoculars to see what I need to see. And I use this. Who said receding hairline? Is that you? I'm not a tree surgeon, eh? We use our brains and think about it. See, what most people do when they have a tree-related problem, they go and ask a tree surgeon. What they're doing there is asking someone who gets paid by how much tree he cuts off what he thinks they should do. I can see a potential flaw in that system. Maybe it's just me. But it's insane, isn't it? We wouldn't do that with our own health. If we had a pain in our stomach, we wouldn't go to the hospital, go to the operating room and say, "Excuse me, Mr. Surgeon, when you finish doing that one, I'll just hop on the trolley. You've got all the equipment here, you've got your tools. You might as well do me as well. Cut me open and do your stuff." That would be absolutely mental, wouldn't it? But that's what we do with our trees. When it comes to our health, our pets, or our trees, we should speak to a consultant before we speak to a tree surgeon. So a little bit of history about trees. The first trees were Claxodoplopsida. I may even have said that wrong. They were Devonian. Don't worry for our Cornish contingent, that's nothing to do with the strange lot just over the county border. Devonian period. That was over 350 million years ago. A long time ago. Then we got the coniferous trees, the triangle trees, Christmas trees, if you like. That was over 300 million years ago. And then we got the broadleaves, the lollipop trees, deciduous ones that drop all the leaves in autumn. They came around about just under 300 million years ago. 250 plus. Humans, they came along 300,000 years ago. And 1830, it's an interesting date. Can anyone tell me what happened then? We invented those things. Chainsaws, not quite as fancy and shiny as that one. That's when we had the first chainsaw. So how did these trees get on before we came along and before we invented them? They were doing fine without us. That's not the whole story, because we are living close to trees and there is a certain amount of tree surgery that does need doing. A little bit, but we have far too much. Not all of it's necessary, it's very expensive, and you need to speak to a consultant. And it's urban trees, that's my area. Trees in cities, that's where the magic happens. We need more trees in our cities. So why do we need that, Tom? What's the importance of trees? They give us oxygen, that's quite important. They take in carbon dioxide and water and produce oxygen for us, and they grow. And they produce timber and all sorts of fruit and all sorts of amazing things for us. And they reduce the CO2. On their own, they're not going to solve the climate crisis, but they are a contributing factor. But they give us air to breathe. But more important than that, they give us clean air in our cities. They remove pollution. And that's fantastic. They're doing their job. So if we take them away, we've got more pollution. That affects our physical health. Clean air, that's what we want. That's what we crave. Removing the pollution there, that's not quite London, but that paints a picture of what we've got going on. Trees are part of the answer to most of our problems. Seen there? Flooding. They'll help to prevent that. You can't plant one tree and address that issue. But millions of trees are getting cut down further upstream, and the water's running off and it's collecting in the lower area, the lowland areas where we've built our cities, near rivers. And we've got a big problem with flooding. And if we put trees in our cities, they help with the filtration, they help soaking up that water, and they reduce the flooding problem. So it has to be part of that. And that's the water cycle. The trees will absorb the water, take it up through their system and get what they need from it, then it will evaporate and go into the atmosphere. That's the water cycle. But that's also the air conditioning cycle. It creates a cooler environment. Our cities are very, very hot. There's a lot of concrete, there's a lot of tarmac, and that heats up in the day from the sun, and it stays warm and slowly releases at night, and that's why we get hot summer nights. So we need air conditioning. We either need physical air conditioning units like the slides, or natural air conditioning. Trees, they're doing the same job. That's the urban heat island that I was talking about. The heating up of our man-made structures. They provide shade as well. Isn't that fantastic? And they give us money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Except it does, doesn't it? Because that's where paper comes from. Until our government decided that we didn't want paper money, we wanted plastic money, because we haven't got enough plastic in the world. Yeah, so that's insane. But now, they add to our property values. Trees will increase property values. This is what people want. They want trees on their land. They want a mature landscape. That is a mature landscape. They want this secrecy. I don't know what they want to do behind this secrecy, what deviant behaviours they have, but they crave this secrecy, and they pay a premium up to 10%. If you ask an estate agent what's a mature landscape, they'll go, well, that's about 10%. They won't know what a mature landscape is. It's trees. And often people buy these properties and cut the trees down because they want a better view. They're cutting off their value. That's an immature landscape. No one wants that. And when you're looking up slides on Google, be very careful when you look up mature things because you get some strange results there. Trees will help with our mental well-being. We've touched on mental well-being with one of the other speakers this morning. They improve our relaxation. There's been a study of bathing. Not that sort of bathing that's on the slide, but that was quite an interesting study for me. But no, not sunbathing either. Forest bathing. People going into the woods and lying down. The Japanese have been leading on this Treeconomy. They actually measure the responses. And people's cortisol levels reduce because of the pheromones in the trees. It's a chemical reaction. It's not just a visual thing. That helps as well. It's psychological. But it's a chemical thing. And we like being in nature. Cities are not natural environments. They're very stressful at an intrinsic body level. And the Japanese have been studying that. And I think when they finish studying that, they should look at the differentiation of habits of these creatures, because that's another long understudied area of science that we also need to crack, because it's obvious, isn't it? We know where these guys go, and we know that trees are relaxing. We don't need Japanese scientists to tell us. Millions of people go into the woods to relax. If you don't believe me, just think back to the lockdown. We were all confined. People were literally breaking out of their lockdown to break into the parks. The police were trying to send them back. People craved nature because it had been taken away from them, what they took for granted. And when people are out for an hour a day, they suddenly notice nature. They were appreciating nature. They noticed that 20-metre tall tree that was outside their house that they'd never noticed before. It'd always been there. But trees give us oxygen. They give us all the... What else? What else have trees done for us? What if I could tell you that trees will give us free Wi-Fi? They won't give us free Wi-Fi. That's fake news. That's fake tree news, but imagine if they did give us free Wi-Fi. We'd all want trees. We'd want a forest outside our house, wouldn't we? Instead, they only give us oxygen and flood mitigation and nicer places to live, improve our health and our mental health. Nothing really, is it? Cut them down. Don't cut them down. Don't cut the trees down. That's the lockdown slide. So I've already covered that one. Now, I'm going to share a little bit about my business. It's the risk assessment business. I'm going to share a story. Anyone know what that slide represents? It's health and safety. Health and safety. Everyone hates it, but that's a big part of my job. And I assess risk. And this is my client, Mr. Wright. It's quite ironic because he was wrong in so many ways, but Mr. Wright was worried about his trees. He says, Tom, I've got this tree. It might fall over. The tree surgeons told me it might fall over and I need to cut it. I said, calm down. Let's have a look at the tree. And trees, there is a slight risk with trees. There are 6 deaths each year as a result of tree incidents, tree-related incidents, either trees falling or branches falling. That's an average year on year, and that's from the Office of National Statistics. So let's give us some comparisons. Trousers. There are 10 trouser-related deaths each year. It's on the Office of National Statistics, if you want to check it out. I don't know what they're doing, if they're in the wrong place with their trousers off and they have to get out. It doesn't go that deep into the statistics. But there are still 10 trouser-related injuries. But we're still prepared to put our trousers on. Stairs. That's dangerous. 1,000 stair-related injuries every year. But people still use the stairs. And vehicles. 1,800 vehicle deaths every year. People are still prepared to get in their car and drive on the motorway while using their phone sometimes to make it even more dangerous because they're just not happy with the ordinary level of danger. But they're still worried about their really safe trees. And Mr. Wright goes, Tom, you don't understand. When the wind blows, my tree moves in the wind. So that's good. That's what you want. When it stops moving in the wind, then it's brittle, that's when you want to worry. But don't worry, it's just doing its tree thing. He says, you don't understand, Tom. I sit on my sofa and I look out my window and I worry about my trees and I sweat. I said, what do you do for a job? Do you work from home? And clearly he did work from home while the lockdown was on, but now he was back into the office. And he said, no, I drive to work, Tom. His drive actually takes him past Arizona for some reason, but that's the beauty of stock photos, I think. I said, do you work on the ground floor? No, he worked on the 5th floor. And he didn't use the elevator, he used the stairs because that was better for his health, for his pedometer. Oh, he's quite risk-taking, this, isn't he? At this point, I didn't ask him if he was wearing trousers, I just took that as a given. We're not in the Zoom era anymore, we do need to wear trousers, but he took that risk. I said, Mr. Wright, what do you do when you're not? Do you got any hobbies? What do you do when you're not sat at home on your sofa, watching your trees out the window? He says, Tom, I like to go out to the forest and walk around. What, with all those thousands of trees that no one's inspected properly, and you're worried about the one that I've had a look at outside your house? Says, yeah. I'm worried about that one. So what do you do when you finish wandering around your trees? He says, I'll go back to the car, get my bike off the back, and I drive around the bike track. What, with all those people who've no idea of their risk tolerance, you're riding against them? Yeah. That's amazing. My heart's pounding, my hands are sweating, it's really exhilarating. I think, can't you get that same feeling just sitting at home, looking out your window, worrying about your tree? Didn't really understand that one. So we looked at this tree. We did all our technology. We've got ultrasound. We've got micro drills, we can check it out. There's nothing wrong with his tree. And eventually, he was happy. It's still there now. So to sum up, I'm a tree consultant. I'm not a surgeon. I do own a chainsaw. I don't use a chainsaw. I just use my eyes. Normal eyes, not demented eyes. Occasionally, binoculars. I use my brain, not receding hairline. But trees are important. Trees are important. Not just to me and to you, some of my audience. Not the tree surgeon in the audience. All these people, these aren't here just to get product placement and payment into my presentation. Not just for that anyway. But these companies see the value of trees. They market it. So it is value. And that will lead into my upcoming book, Treeconomy. My call to action. My name's Tom Thompson. You can find me on LinkedIn. tomthompson.co.uk. Arboricultural is my company. And Tomo Thompson on Facebook. That's all, folks. Trees are important. Cherish them, treasure them, and speak to a consultant before you speak to a surgeon. Thank you.
OMG, Tom, I'm not blown away easily because, I consider myself as a strong tree as well, speaking about trees. You see what I did there, yeah? So let's just get closer. I think we need to be in front of the camera. Thank you so much. I think that the world needs more speakers like you, buddy. And I had a great time. I mean, I don't laugh easily, But that was beautiful. Thank you so much. Another round of applause. Thank you very much, Tom. Pleasure to have you with us. You can follow up this way. Are you taking the... I'll this a chainsaw? No, it's all right. I like it. Can I use it for now? No, is it dangerous? No, absolutely not.
I'll decommission it now.
I mean, what a powerful talk. I loved it. I loved every part of it. And yeah, I think we need more time with nature and appreciation. I remember when I lived in Sweden, because coming back from Venezuela, we, for some reason, don't take care of nature in the same way, which is unfortunate. But then I learned in Sweden that, yeah, people actually replant trees. A discovery for me. Loved it. Look, I'm not going to entertain you this time, and I know you want me to, right? Yeah, I know you do. But now I get to introduce... Well, he's not going to be the next speaker, but hopefully he's going to entertain us. He thinks he's funny. What do you people think down there? Over, the people in Zoom. Elliot is going to be speaking next.